Hi everyone, Christopher here. I just want to mention at the top of the show that we have a new email address. We've been telling you to get in touch with us, but we haven't given you a lot of great ways on how to do that. So, if you want to reach out to talk to us about anything we're talking about here in the show or any other travel-related topics, please reach out to us at podcast@goseedoexplore.com. Thank you.
Travelers, and welcome to Go See, Do, Explore.
Here, we dive deep into the heart of travel, sharing hidden gems, unforgettable experiences, and the stories that make each destination unique.
Whether you're a seasoned traveler or dreaming of your next getaway, you're in the right place to get inspired.
I'm Christopher.
And I'm Ashley.
And together, we'll set the course for your next great adventure and discover the stories that make each place unforgettable.
It's time to go, see, and do more. Let's explore. Hello, everybody. We are back for another episode of Go See, Do, Explore. Travel and Leisure recently came out with their 50 places to go in 2025. And we are going over the list, and we discovered that some of our favorite places made the list. So we thought it would be a good thing to discuss on this podcast.
Yeah, we're not going to read every single item that's here, but we'll talk about the categories and anything that we find particularly interesting or worth mentioning.
So to start off, the list is broken down into 7 different categories. The categories being destinations to visit for cultural immersion, nature lovers, big city thrills, moments on the water, food and drinks, beach vibes, and for adventurous travelers. They are destinations for pretty much any kind of travel you're looking for, really. Are you looking to eat the best food in the world? Are you looking for the city with lots of things to do? Are you looking to hike in a remote location? Are you looking for beautiful, turquoise blue waters? Do you want to go someplace where nobody speaks your language? There's something for everyone on this list.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into it.
Okay. The first category is for big city thrills. So the locations on this part of the list are bigger cities from all around the world. Few in the US, some in Europe. But the very first one on this list is a place that I feel like we've been talking about a lot lately.
Yeah.
But that is Detroit.
It was really cool to see Detroit as the very first city on this very long list of places to go.
Yeah. So if you may not know, in 2024, the NFL draft came to Detroit, and I want to say it was like the most people that had ever attended an NFL draft in the history of the NFL draft. So people have been coming to Detroit. Obviously, the Lions, if you follow professional football, the Lions are doing ridiculous right now. I'm pretty sure better than they have done in like 60 years or something crazy like that. So there's that going on. But then we talked, I don't know how many episodes back, about the Michigan Central Station. So the really old, iconic, dilapidated building that Ford has restored back to its amazing, beautiful glory. There is the Book Tower is another building in downtown Detroit that has been totally renovated. There's new hotels. We recently went to a new restaurant in downtown Detroit that was really cool. We haven't talked about it on this podcast, but I'll mention it right now. It's a Vecino, and it is like a modern Mexican take, like high-end modern Mexican. The chef used to work with Enrique Olvera in Mexico City. But yeah, so Detroit had such a bad rap for so many years, and I mean, rightfully so. Like, it was full of crime, we don't need to get into that. But it's back, and the fact that it's literally the very first thing on this this travel and leisure article is pretty cool.
Yeah. Do you think we'll go to Detroit this year?
It's closer than any other city, so probably.
Yeah. I would say probably we will. Probably a couple times.
Yeah. Before we started recording, I was just talking about how we haven't been to the Book Tower, and I've been reading about what's there, and it sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's a tapas bar.
Yeah. Basque tapas bar. Of course, in the Basque country, they wouldn't call them tapas, I don't think.
No, but
that's okay. pinchos, I think.
Americans call it.
That's right.
I think there are some places that call themselves like Mexican tacos.
Yeah.
There's actually a few in the U.S. on the city list. Portland, Oregon also made the list, and Sacramento, California, which we took the train through Sacramento, but neither of them are places that we have spent any time.
No. The photo of the new terminal at the Portland airport looks like Madrid. It looks like Barajas in Madrid. It's got like the wood slats. That's cool. And the plants, they've got like lots of plants in there, like Atocha. Yeah.
And I've told you this before. I don't think I've mentioned it on the podcast. A few months ago, anyway, Alaska Airlines announced an initiative that if you are traveling to Oregon on Alaska Airlines, you can check a case of wine, like Oregon wine, presumably, for free. So on the way home,
you're not going to like Trader Joe's or.
Well, I was more meaning like you can't like bring a case of wine with you and then like, take some back, because Oregon is one of those places that has a pretty like an up and coming wine scene, I would say.
It's pretty well established, actually. Where I'm at. That region. It's
I was thinking that's in Washington, but you're right.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the more significant wine regions in the U.S. outside of California. It's interesting to see Rome on the list.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting. I feel like a lot of this list was talking about, events happening. And we've mentioned on other episodes that I believe it's every 25 years in Rome, or in the Vatican, I guess, is a Jubilee year. And pilgrims come from everywhere to visit Rome. And it's once every 25 years. So you can imagine how crazy 2025 is going to be in Rome. It looks like I believe the Trevi Fountain is done with its renovation, or it will be by January 1st. Yeah. I wasn't surprised. Well, maybe I was surprised to see it on the list because it's supposed to be so crazy this year. But it's an iconic city. And especially if you are a Catholic, like I guess I can kind of understand the draw.
Yeah.
All right. So we didn't mention every place on this list. We're not talking about places that we don't know really anything about, unless when reading it was interesting. So definitely we'll put a link to this article in the show notes, or Google Travel and Leisure 50 Best Places 2025. But we're going to move over to cultural immersion. And the first one on this list is Budapest, which is a place that I would like to visit.
Yeah, me too.
Is that the place with the train?
Yeah, it's maybe my favorite episode of Travel Man, or at least one of my favorites. Yeah, there's a train run by children there. But there are lots of other probably better reasons to go there too. The thing that I know I always am taken aback by when you see like video or photos of Budapest is Hungary, is this kind of small, medium-sized Central European country. But remember that this used to be the capital of a really large empire in Europe, right? So all of that, like Austria-Hungary, all of that like royal stuff and the Habsburg family and all that is there, right? And so it's a big cultural capital.
Yeah, there's a picture on this article of a palace that I guess recently opened, and it looks pretty awesome. Looks like it's got a giant pool.
Yeah, it has a giant pool.
I don't know how you say this, but Bukhara, Uzbekistan is not something I expected to see on a list.
They know about the Uzbeks.
I think we've discussed before my desire to visit Scotland. So Inverness and the Flow Country of Scotland, which I guess that's a term I had never heard before, but I guess it's kind of
it's a massive sweep of bogs and peatland. That's straight from the article.
Also, another place that's been on our list, and we were not too far from there a few weeks ago, but Charleston, South Carolina made the list. Everything I've seen and read about Charleston seems like a big cultural destination, especially in the Southeast.
This photo makes me want to be there right now because it looks nice and warm.
It looks nice and warm, and it is very cold here. But Charleston, if you're not aware, Charleston has a lot of the slavery history of the American South. It was the big port where the slaves would come in. And so there's a lot of kind of dark history there, but I think it's important for Americans and people who are visiting the U.S. to kind of understand.
Yeah.
And I've heard from people that have visited that it's very powerful, very moving.
Yeah. Good food too.
Yes. Is that still low country?
I don't know. I don't think so. I feel like low country is like the country, like not the city.
Not the city.
But I could be wrong about that.
Well, this article is saying that last year, International African American Museum opened in Charleston. So
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good.
But I think the one on this part of this list that we are most excited about and one of our absolute favorite places
Yes.
is Lisbon and the Algarve, Portugal. Well, we haven't been to the Algarve, but I've seen amazing pictures of the beaches in the Algarve. So the Algarve is the part of Portugal that is on the coast south of Lisbon. And there's beautiful like sea caves and rocky coastline. It just looks absolutely beautiful.
Our next kayaking destination, maybe. Probably not our next one.
I think we're going to need some training on the sea kayaks before we go that far.
Yeah.
But
Well, I wasn't going to say that we were going to kayak all the way to there from here. That's not my point.
But Lisbon is an absolutely amazing city. This article says that it is unlike any other European capital. And from the European capitals that we visited, I can say that feels true to me. Maybe it's the southern charm. I don't know.
It looks warm. Now I'm just cold right now because every one of these destinations, like, oh, the sun.
It's home to great food. Fado music
Yeah,
is from Lisbon.
This picture is the San Jeronimos. I think that's how you say it. Monastery.
I didn't recognize it.
Yeah, but this always reminds me of we saw someone taking like an Instagram photo or video, probably a video, and she was holding her phone, and then like someone was holding the phone from the other side, and she was walking forward and he was walking backwards. So she wasn't actually supporting the weight of the phone. She just had her arm up on the phone so that it looked like she was holding the phone. And we all got to witness that while we waited in line. It was pretty great.
Other people were remarking about it as well.
Yeah, it was something.
Well, this is interesting that United is going to be flying nonstop from Newark to Faro, which is a city in the Algarve.
Yeah, interesting. And Portugal has really been marketing themselves. I think we've probably mentioned that on this podcast before, that Portugal's tourism is really up and coming. So go before it gets expensive. That's what I would say.
Another one that is interesting in this article is Luxor, Egypt.
Yeah, it looks cool. That's not a trip I've ever really thought about.
No.
I don't know. I'd have to learn a lot about what to do there and stuff.
EasyJet is launching a direct flight from London to Luxor, which I'm guessing in the past you would have had to like transfer in Cairo.
Probably Cairo, maybe Alexandria, but probably Cairo.
So that'll make it a little bit more accessible to people that can easily get to London, which, I mean, London's a pretty big hub of travel. But it's a very interesting place you can't find a lot of places that look like that. All right, we're going to move to adventurous travels. And I think this list is kind of funny because there's a lot of places that, like, kind of I've barely heard of. Like, they're off the map. And then there's one that I think every American knows exactly where it is.
Yeah.
So I think for this one, we're going to go through them all just so you can understand the dramatic nature of the...
It's a bit of a head scratcher.
of the final one. So the first one is the Caucasus mountain range in Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Georgia. Oh, thanks to Atlas Obscura.
Yeah, Atlas Obscura must be driving this one. Yeah. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, the picture is very... very unique. One that I think Chris is very interested in is Greenland.
I really want to go to Greenland. I have for years. We live in like a relatively small county here in Michigan, and the population of our county is more than the population of Greenland. All of Greenland. There's just not a lot of people that are there.
In 2023, visitors to Greenland were up 73% compared to the year before. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
People are flocking there. I'm guessing for probably the untouched beauty of Greenland.
Yeah. I guess I'm not the only one that has had this idea. They mentioned in this article too that there are cruise operators going there, which has been one of the more popular ways to go there recently. Not that there are really any popular ways to go to Greenland, but you've been able to cruise there from Iceland for a while now. But they're adding cruises now that are not only from Iceland. And also, I believe we talked about this in the podcast before, that United will be soon offering flights to Greenland from, I think, Newark or New York, or one of those. I don't remember which.
It's United. I'm sure it's Newark.
Probably Newark, yeah.
All right, so the next one on the list is Kumaon, India.
I'm glad that you're the one that has to say these.
Which is up in the Himalayas. Mm-hmm. So once again, very adventurous, under the radar.
Yeah. So I think we should maybe mention before we go too much farther what people are doing in these places too. Like, it seems like a lot of them are hiking destinations.
Greenland paddling.
Is a paddling destination. Yeah. And so that's why you would take these trips, is to do these like backcountry trips.
It looks like somebody is building a 7-cabin retreat in this area, of very remote area of India.
Yeah, interesting.
Madagascar
Yeah.
is next. The 4th largest island of the world and one of the most biodiverse.
Yeah, I know it's a big wildlife destination. Why now, I guess? Because Madagascar has been, I think, a popular adventure destination for a while. It looks like there's just some new opportunities, new places to stay.
Emirates is going to be flying people from Dubai to
Okay.
Antananarivo, which is the capital of Madagascar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's known for wildlife,
Yeah. Lemurs.
lemurs,
They've got those lemurs there.
jeweled chameleons.
Oh.
There's safari tents you can stay in. The next one on this list is Nicaragua. Borders Costa Rica, which has been a big kind of wildlife ecotourism destination for a while now.
It seems like that's what's going on here. Is Costa Rica has gotten fairly expensive for Latin America because of all of the tourism and expats and all that, and Nicaragua is nearby.
There has been a lot of political and social turbulence in Nicaragua, but for the moment that has kind of stabilized, making it a place that is safer for visitors again.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times influx of foreign cash can help to stabilize a place too. Hopefully that is the case here.
It looks like United is doubling the flights
From Houston.
from Houston to Managua.
Interesting.
The next one on the list is the Philippines, which is known for its beautiful blue water. I think the Philippines is one of those places where you can get those kind of over-the-water bungalows like you see in Bora Bora and Tahiti and places like that. But if you go to the Philippines, it can be much less expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Nonstop Philippine Airlines from Seattle.
From Seattle.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Lots of new hotels.
It looks like a lot of resorts and stuff like that. Probably playing on people that would otherwise want to go to like Tahiti or Hawaii or places like that. Is kind of what it looks like to me.
All right. So those are almost all
There's one more.
of the adventurous travelers locations. The next one is going to blow you away because it is Universal Orlando. How do you compare that to all those other locations that I've just mentioned? One of them, was it Madagascar, that it was like, come to Madagascar and you can tell your friends you've been to Madagascar because this is a place that not a lot of people go.
Yeah.
I don't think you could say that about Universal Orlando.
Yeah. I don't really get this.
So
I mean, if you want to go there, that's fine. I just wouldn't group it with those other ones.
So Universal is opening Epic Universe, which is a state-of-the-art theme park with 5 new lands. Nintendo Land is going there. There's going to be an expansion of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. There's a classic Monster Land with Dracula and Frankenstein. Immersive dining, cutting-edge roller coasters. This article states that it's been 25 years since a theme park has opened in Orlando. I guess, Islands of Adventure, I guess, opened in 2000. An Epic Universe will, when it first opens, will only allow guests to visit for one day, I guess, to keep crowds down. So you have, if you're going to visit Universal Orlando, you have to plan multiple days, but you're only able to go to Epic Universe once.
I wish y'all could see my face right now.
And Disney is expecting that they're going to get more business because of it.
So it looks like that one hotel is a Lowe's hotel, which...
All of their hotels are Lowe's hotels.
Oh, okay. I think those are nice hotels, but just every time I look at it, I feel like it's spelled wrong. I just can't look. Loews. Lowe's. Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, so I think it's cool, the Universal, like that it made the list, but I don't know. It just doesn't, maybe this wasn't the right category to put it in. I don't know.
Yeah. They wanted to put it somewhere. Adventure.
Yeah.
It's a very different kind of adventure.
You go to, a remote location in the Himalayas or Universal Orlando.
It's like Mick Adventure, served up in a safe way.
Adventure and going fast on a roller coaster. I think it's time for a wine break.
Let's go to the wine break. We're here for the wine break. And before we get into today's wine break, I need to make a clarification to what I said last week. Thank you, listener Lauren, for the text. So I mentioned last week that we don't always drink wine for real. And apparently this was a controversial statement. So I want to clarify. We never pretend to drink wine, right? Like, we've never pretended to drink wine. We almost always drink wine on the wine break. But there have been a couple times where it was impractical. So, like, for instance, when we recorded in Bologna, we had just taken a food tour where we had some wine, and we didn't think it was a good idea to have more, but we talked about the wine we had just had. And then just this last time, I think it was like 9 a.m.
The day after Thanksgiving.
So
that wasn't really how
yeah.
I wanted to start my day.
Right. So we never pretend, though. We're never like, oh, this wine is so good, and like we're not drinking anything. If we're talking about that kind of a thing, we are really drinking wine. But those couple times where we've sort of talked about a wine after the fact, we've just not had it in that moment, and we didn't lie. So anyway, thank you, Lauren. Just want to clarify that so you're all not scandalized. But let's talk about the wine that we have today. This is a wine I actually mentioned on another podcast. We had Union Sacra there, some sort of a rosé, or like an orange wine, maybe a couple months ago, and really liked it. And I mentioned on that podcast that we had another one from them, Sangiovese, that was made in a really non-traditional style over Labor Day weekend. And so that's the wine we have today. Let's just try this and talk about what we think. We're really drinking it. Oh, I love the aroma of this. This is just a good wine. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, it's good. You know I love me a rosé.
Yeah, this is not a rosé.
It's not?
No, this is a red wine. It's a very light red wine.
Tricked me.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, though, because this is going to lead us to some interesting things, I think. First of all, this is not fined, it's not filtered, so it's, I don't know if you would call it a natural wine, but it's definitely tending in that direction. The other thing, though, is on the bottle it says carbonic fermentation. This is also known as carbonic maceration. They're the same thing. And this
is the process that's used in Beaujolais Nouveau, correct?
In all Beaujolais.
It was only the Nouveau.
It's not only Nouveau. We're going to talk about that. So, smell this with me. Would you say you smell cherries, strawberries?
Yeah.
Would you say you smell something a little bit musty?
Yes.
Yeah, right? Okay. That's the signature of carbonic maceration. Those like red fruit aromas and like a little bit of a musty smell, which is really polarizing. For the people that don't like carbonic wines, that's the thing usually they really don't like. That, and they tend to be kind of light, and some people are just not into that, but we are. So here's what they do. They harvest the grapes, they put them all in a tank, they cover it with carbon dioxide, they seal it off, and they let it sit there for like, the time varies, not a very long time, couple days, couple weeks, something like that. What happens is there's something in the grapes, I think it's an enzyme, but there's something in the grapes where the sugars then start to break down and convert into the slightest amount of alcohol. But this is not a fermentation that's driven by yeast. This is a fermentation that's driven by some enzyme in the grapes. And then additionally, some of the malic acid starts to convert into other types of acid, something that usually happens after primary fermentation, but it starts to happen during, or actually in advance of primary fermentation in this case. And so it produces a very unique light wine with those kinds of characteristics. It's a relatively new technique. I think it's about 100 years old only. So in the history of winemaking, it's not something people have been doing for centuries. But it produces a wine that I really love. And as Ashley mentioned, Beaujolais is sort of the classic carbonic wine. This time of year, people are into Beaujolais Nouveau mainly because of marketing. There's a big, like, the Thursday before Thanksgiving, at least in the United States, is Beaujolais Nouveau Day, where, like, this year's Nouveau goes out. Beaujolais Nouveau is just, when they make Beaujolais in Beaujolais, they take the Gamay grape and they do the carbonic, and then it ages for a couple months, and then they just take some of it and release it. It's not supposed to be a good wine, really. It's just supposed to be like, hey, here's the new wine. Like, let's have some. It's more of a celebration than it is like, this is our highest quality wine here in Beaujolais, but that caught on in the US mainly due to marketing. And so it's like a big marketing thing, and lots of people know Beaujolais Nouveau who probably don't even realize that Beaujolais makes real wines, I guess. I mean, I like Beaujolais Nouveau, but it's like, it's not meant to be a serious wine. It's just meant to be like a fun, like, let's have some new wine kind of a thing. The other thing, though, I want to say about the conversion of malic acid ahead of primary fermentation is that a lot of times when you hear people, have you ever heard people talk about buttery wine? Is that
Never.
a term you've heard? We see like lots of butter on Chardonnay now, right? But the fact is that dairy kind of flavor that happens in Chardonnay also happens in red wines. It's just sometimes less noticeable because there are more other flavors going on in red wines. But that's a compound called diacetyl, and diacetyl is produced as malic acid is converted into lactic acid. And when that happens during a fermentation, there's less of it produced than if that malolactic fermentation is delayed. And so, why am I saying this? Well, when malic acid gets converted in advance of primary fermentation, a lot of that diacetyl is going to be eaten up by the yeast during primary fermentation, meaning it's going to produce a wine ultimately low in diacetyl, meaning a wine with less lactic acid, a wine that doesn't have like a creamy flavor or like any kind of like richness, a lighter, crisper red wine, right? So it really makes sense actually why carbonic works, in addition to those very unique flavors that it imparts. This has been a long wine break. But I just want to say this Sangiovese from Union Sacra that they make in an extremely untraditional way is one of my favorite wines I've had this year. It's really delicious. You serve it chilled, so it's kind of like a rosé in that sense. But I just love it. I've had a lot of Sangiovese this year. We went to Italy. Nothing like this. It's just I would look for this one. I really would. Good wine break.
Yeah.
Great.
We're going to go talk about some more wine now.
Yeah.
All right, the next category is for food and drinks. So the first one on the list is Colorado's Western Slope.
They're growing wine there. Coming to a future wine break near you, maybe.
Maybe we'll get some wine from Colorado.
The Grand Valley AVA. Not one I'm familiar with.
Also on this section is Crete.
Yeah, I want to go there.
Which this picture is just of like food and it looks delicious.
I thought this was really interesting. They mentioned Crete as being a big destination because of the overcrowding on Milos. And like I knew that those were busy places, but I didn't realize that Crete wasn't. I mean, I don't know that much about Greece, I guess. Even less than maybe I thought I did. So yeah, okay, I guess people are going to go to Crete instead of those other more popular islands.
It looks like JW Marriott is going to be opening in Crete, and it will be the first JW Marriott in Greece.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Next on the list is Osaka, Japan.
That photo looks amazing.
Uh-huh.
I saw that it's called the Bota Bar, this photo, and I wondered if like it was related to Bota, but it looks really cool.
Osaka is less than 3 hours from Tokyo by bullet train. It's becoming a must-visit for anyone visiting Japan because of its world-renowned culinary scene and electric nightlife.
That's cool. Yeah, we got to get a Japan trip in the queue, I think.
I believe the only American destination on this section of the list is San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah, it's a place we've been a few times. I like San Antonio.
Oh, you've been a few times.
Oh, you've only been there once. Oops.
Yeah, there's a lot of culture in San Antonio, a lot of history there. And yeah, the food in Texas is great.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't done a good job exposing myself to like everything San Antonio has to offer. We've done the Riverwalk pretty thoroughly, and we did the missions on our last trip. But I know I know there's a lot more there though. So this makes me want to go back sometime.
All right, the one that we have been really excited to talk about, and another place that when I saw this list, I was like, ooh, we've got to talk about this. And that is the Valle de Guadalupe, Mexico.
Yes, I've been wanting to go back there ever since we went.
Yeah, I think that one of our first episodes when we did the top 10 places we want to return, this was up high on that list.
It was. Was that the one we recorded on the train?
We did record it on the train.
Man, that was fun. I want to go on another train. Yeah, Valle de Guadalupe is in northwest Baja. It's it's kind of around the city of Ensenada. And so, like, I don't know, if you were in a car, it's probably about an hour south of the border between Mexico and the United States. So it is definitely farther south than the California wine regions, but it is high up in the mountains. And so it ends up making great wine just like those regions farther north in California, United States. And so if you like wine, like we do, It's a great place to go. They also have these really cool and interesting resorts, Airbnbs, like interesting places to stay. And it's become a huge food destination. Like in this article mentions it too, that there are these Michelin-starred restaurants and these big-time chefs there. And the nice thing too is that it's a little off the beaten path still. So there are deals to be had. I mean, I think you can go there and not spend a lot of money. You can go there and spend a lot of money. But it's, a little bit off the beaten path. For Americans that are not on the West Coast, it's a little hard to get there. This is something that, as we've been thinking about going back, Tijuana is the closest airport, and there are no international flights from there, right? So you have to basically...
I don't know if that's true, because I've seen flights.
I don't think there are, unless that's new. But regardless, it's hard to fly to Tijuana from the U.S., so you basically either have to fly to San Diego and cross the border on foot or in a car, or you have to fly to a bigger Mexican city and then connect. And so that can make it a little bit of a hassle to get there, which is why we haven't been back, because I'm sure if it was easy, we would have already been back. Nevertheless, this is a place to put on your list for sure, especially if you like wine. I know I've sung the praises of Mexican wine before. People sort of assume that Mexican wine must not be very good because you've never heard of it and don't see it. They don't make very much, and they consume most of it domestically. That's why you don't see it here. But it doesn't mean it's not good. It's actually quite good.
All right, we're going to move over to destinations for moments on the water.
Yeah, I like moments on the water, I would say. This looks familiar, even though we've never been here.
Yes. So the first one is the Apostle Islands in Wisconsin, which is another national lakeshore, similar to some of our favorite places like Pictured Rocks and Sleeping Bear Dunes in Michigan. But the Apostle Islands are on Lake Superior, correct?
Yep, that's right.
On the Wisconsin side.
Wisconsin's got just a little bit of Superior coastline.
And it's a big paddling destination for sure. I mean, I feel like Lake Superior is a big sea kayaking destination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's been on my list that I would like to go there for some time.
Another one is a place that we have put our feet, but barely, and that is Barbados.
Yes, it looks warm there.
It does look very warm and sunny. I mean, it's the Caribbean. I think it's warm and sunny pretty much always. It's just another one of those beautiful Caribbean islands known for its rum, which we have some in the cupboard. Mount Gay rum is the big distiller, I guess, in Barbados.
Looks like lots of new flights on JetBlue.
And American.
Yeah.
Delta from Atlanta. But they've got a lot of eco-tourism. So, of course, there's Barbados, I think, is probably mostly known for its beaches. It is a embarkation port for a lot of, maybe not a lot, but for some cruises visiting the Southern Caribbean. Yeah, but it's a beautiful, sunny, warm destination in the Caribbean. Another place on this list is one that's been kind of high up on my list for a while, and I think it was on my list when we had our top places of where we want to visit next, and that is the French Riviera. So we're talking about the Côte d'Azur, Lake Zatican, Saint-Tropez, Nice. What's the other one? No?
I think Marseille is a little outside, but it's near. It's not far from there.
But it's iconic golden stretch of coast between Nice and Saint-Tropez, known for a niçoise salad.
Oh, wow.
Mediterranean beaches, chic hotels.
All these places look sunny and warm.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's like not Detroit, I guess, which is like where we are basically.
I think that was the picture was taken in the summer.
Yeah.
So it looked warm then too. Not snowy and desolate like it is now.
It is sunny out there, but it's still cold.
The next destination is Iceland, and they specifically say by cruise ship.
I thought that was interesting. Iceland, according to this article, is very pro cruise traveler, which a lot of places aren't, as we've discussed before.
Especially, they're turning less pro cruise traveler.
Yeah.
Like, I believe 2025 is the last year that Norwegian fjords cruises will be able to happen without meeting very specific environmental standards.
But what they're saying here for Iceland, which makes sense, is because Iceland's infrastructure is relatively undeveloped. When people fly into Iceland, which has been happening a lot lately, they all are just concentrated around Reykjavik and don't really go far beyond. And so it's all sort of concentrated there. Whereas when people get on cruise ships, the cruise ships can kind of take care of them, and then they go to like other parts of the island. So I think, that's interesting. It's an interesting point. It looks cold.
Yeah, I think that's probably summer, and they're wearing their coats.
Yeah, no, I'm cold.
Another one on the list in North America is Nova Scotia in Canada. I think maybe we should add Nova Scotia to our Canadians on the
Yeah,
road trip.
it's pretty far, but maybe.
I think Halifax is not that far from Bar Harbor.
Yeah.
I think it's a few hours. But it looks like some of the other places on this list, it's on this list because they're easier to get to than ever before. So American is flying to Halifax from LaGuardia. There's new hotels. Ooh, there's a national park, Sable Island National Park, on an island with towering sand dunes. And it's the world's largest breeding colony of gray seals and wild horses.
Wow.
Sounds pretty cool.
Pretty good.
And also on this list is Trieste, Italy, which it was also on our list from Booking.com and Expedia that we read a few weeks ago about the travel trends for 2025. And I was talking about how Trieste is the cruise ship port for Venice these days now that the cruise ships aren't allowed in the city. And actually looking at this picture, I kind of understand why people might be more interested in Trieste, because it kind of seems like it's the mainland version of Venice.
Yeah, at least looking at this photo.
But I think it has the canals similar to Venice, but I'm sure it doesn't have the crowds.
It's home to Italy.
Oh, it's home to Illy coffee.
Yeah.
Apparently there's an Italian saying about Trieste, I have a cousin there, which is kind of funny.
They mention also the proximity to vineyards, which is exciting.
Yeah, because we didn't do any wine tourism when we were in that part of Italy.
No.
And it's closer to Slovenia, which is also on this list that we just didn't mention because we don't
No much.
have much knowledge about Slovenia.
Yep.
Then they list some new cruise ships, small ship cruise ships for water travel. Now, for nature lovers, we're going to start that part of the list. The first one on the list is Anchorage, Alaska.
Yeah, I would like to go there. I think that'd be a fun place to like work for a couple weeks. Maybe some year we'll do that.
So we've been to Alaska, but only the southeast. What do they call that?
The Panhandle.
But I feel like the cruise ports are maybe not real Alaska. And so
Yeah.
going to Anchorage.
It's its
would-
own thing.
Right. And I mean, people could probably say that Anchorage isn't real Alaska either, because
I
it's
don't-
probably the biggest city in Alaska.
I don't like this use of the word real. It's all Alaska, but they're different, right? It's all different. It says new routes, ... better service from Detroit.
There you go. Alaska, Delta, and United are making it easier for you to visit Alaska from Detroit, New York, San Diego, and Washington, D.C.
Yeah,
Bhutan is on this list,
that's cool.
which I don't know much about besides it's the base
Yeti.
camp for Everest is in Bhutan, isn't it?
Yeah, all that Yeti stuff.
The Yeti scalp. This looks very cold. If you're into cold, Deer Valley, Utah, a new ski resort, and then the opposite, Fiji.
Yeah, Fiji looks nice.
Yeah, that's not what I would have expected, Fiji. Because I expected like a beach scene.
You thought it was just going to be a bunch of square water bottles?
In 2025, Fiji Airways is launching nonstop service from Dallas-Fort Worth, making the first time the airline will reach beyond West Coast getaways. So it's a little easier to get to Fiji.
Yeah, there are good flights to Dallas from Detroit. We could get on that.
Some new hotels. Of course, this is travel and leisure, so they're like very fancy hotels. A Westin, a Crowne Plaza. Oh, and they've announced an ambitious tourism initiative called Loloma Hour that will encourage visitors to volunteer an hour during their stay to kind of helping the island and the local environment.
Straight from the article.
Yes, no.
This photo looks really cool.
All right, kind of similar to Anchorage, we have Yukon, Canada on this list. Not really a place we know much about, but like Iceland, it's a good place to see the Aurora Borealis or the Northern Lights. Well, there's even a Northern Lights resort and spa with glass-fronted chalets.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be a lot like Alaska in terms of the kinds of things people do.
Ooh, there's flight-seeing trips over the ice fields of
Yeah.
Kluane National Park. And I know in Skagway, there was the White Pass Railroad that would take you from Skagway, Alaska into the Yukon and back. I don't think they could leave you there. I don't think customs would be okay with that. All right, so we're going to head from cold, snowy Utah and Yukon, Canada, and we're going to head to where you can visit if you're looking for some beach vibes. And as we've been talking, it's cold now. We could use some beach vibes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm ready.
I feel like a lot of these, when I was looking through them before, they're places that are maybe lesser known beach destinations than what you think of. Because Cancun is not on this list. You don't see,
Yeah, Cabo San Lucas.
there's no Cabo San Lucas. But the Mexican destination on this list is, how do you say this?
Costa Alegre.
Costa Alegre, Mexico.
It's near Puerto Vallarta. I think it's the mainland, but it's like in the Bay of California there, like, if that makes sense.
You fly into the new airport in Jalisco, and like a lot of these other places, there are lots of fancy new luxury hotels opening up.
Yeah.
Grenada in the Caribbean, Sanibel Island, Florida. 2 years ago, Sanibel Island was devastated by Hurricane Ian, but in spite of Milton just a few months ago, it is making a comeback. Lots of places have reopened, lots of food and wildlife to be seen.
Looks warm. That's not really where I want to go, but looks nice.
Also on the U.S. beach scene is Santa Monica.
That's a sad photo. Santa Monica looks so much prettier than this photo. It's like brown.
Brown and desolate.
Yeah.
The 2025 marks Santa Monica's 150th anniversary.
Nice. It's a fun city. Very crowded.
Definitely not a place you want to drive around for fun.
No.
No. Once again, new hotels. Apparently there's a new Jordanian restaurant called Layla. That sounds interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Once again, a little lesser visited Caribbean
Is
destination.
that the one that you have to get the shot?
I'm pretty sure
for-
it's about the same thing. Yellow fever.
Yellow fever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Which is fine. You can do that.
Right. It's not difficult. Just tell your healthcare provider that you're planning to visit St. Vincent and the Grenadines. They're going to be like, oh, you should probably vaccinate. Apparently, it's a big kite surfing destination. And I thought this was interesting that there's a Mount Soufriere.
Yeah.
Soufriere, which is also the name of a bay and a city in St. Lucia, which did make this list.
Yeah.
Both American Airlines and JetBlue have increased their service with nonstop flights from Charlotte and New York, respectively. So it's another place that's getting easier to visit. They have a big carnival in Vincy Mas, and then they have a tradition of 9 mornings in December. That sounds like a good thing to do in December.
Yes.
Or it wouldn't be cold and snowy like it is.
We should go.
And the last destination on this list is one that I've kind of been interested in a little bit lately, and that is Turks and Caicos. You don't have much to say about these beach destinations, huh?
I guess it looks nice.
This article says the average temps are around 80 degrees Fahrenheit year-round.
Well, that sounds pretty good.
There's several new noteworthy luxury hotel and resort options. But the reason that this has been on my mind before is I've seen decently priced flights to, I'm going to try my best, Providenciale, which is, I believe, I don't know if it's the capital or if it's just where an airport is, but once again, there are going to be new nonstop flights from Miami on American. So
Yeah.
if you're looking for next winter, or I mean honestly, like in a few months, in February when you're like, get me out of this cold, these are some places to keep in mind
Yeah.
for 2025.
It's interesting how much these domestic carriers are expanding their offerings. I'd like to learn more about that, like why they're doing that. I mean, obviously they're doing it because they believe there's a market, but I'd like to know more about what's leading to that.
Yeah, I should go back to like previous years of these lists to see like if it's all like, oh yeah, and then this airline is going to start flying there from here. And
Yeah.
so that is Travel and Leisure's list of 50 best places to travel in 2025. Like we mentioned, I only read the places that
We had something to say.
we had something to say about. So definitely read the article to see the places that maybe you are more familiar with than we are. And yeah, we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
That's all for today's episode of Go, See, Do, Explore. Thank you for joining us and sharing in the wonder of travel.
Keep the spirit of today's adventure alive by checking out our blog at goseedoexplore.com for even more travel inspiration.
Don't forget to rate and review us wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really helps fellow travelers find us and join our community.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and keep traveling by any means necessary.
I'm Christopher.
And I'm Ashley, bidding you farewell and happy exploring.